Welcome to the Raven Knoll Show. I'm your host, Raven C. Knoll, known as the Soul Physician. I'm a wife, mother, counselor, mindset plus life coach, and speaker, and this is episode number 21. And we're back. Hello. So excited to share with you today's podcast guest, who I really wanted to chat with because she has some skin in the game. I am interviewing Lola Tomorrow on today's podcast episode. It was so great interviewing her because Lola is not only funny, she's hilarious actually, and you'll see throughout the conversation, but she's real at the same time. And she really does drop some amazing wisdom in the conversation. And I love just the balance of fun, but serious action and just really giving you all the gems and making you laugh in the process, but also kind of checking you at the same time. Loved it. Okay. Loved it. And you're going to love it too. So Lola Tomorrow is rewriting generational wealth to single-handedly mint the new class of faith-driven millionaires. As a global connector, high-profile event strategist, impact philanthropist, and the business mastermind behind the premier Faith Figures mentorship program, Lola's genius has been featured everywhere, from Grammy stages to the White House. Her proven industry insights alone weaponize the business women she mentors to skyrocket their income, elevate their impact, and powerfully expand their influence. Each year, under a direct guidance and support, Lola's Faith Figures collectively generate over $10 million in revenue with companies across 7 different industries. Her business success is only a fraction of the impact she has in the world. Through her foundation, iGlow Mentoring, Lola has transformed the lives of over 5,000 girls in Chicago, taking dozens of them on their first ever international trip to Paris. Lola's legacy building mission statement is simple: to leverage her influential position and unstoppable billion-dollar network to propel others to achieve market and global domination. You're going to love this interview with Lola. Let's get to it. Hey, Lola, how are you?
Hey, it's so good to be here. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
Awesome. So I knew when I started this series, I said I have to get Lola on because I really believe that you bring a perspective being known for influence offline and online. And so I really wanted to be able to mix up how I interviewed my interviewees on the podcast. And I think that, so many people can relate to having their hands in both worlds in a sense. And so, I think if I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, you started with your influence more so in a career field offline and you brought that influence online, correct?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say it like that because I never put language to it like that, but that's pretty much what I did. Absolutely.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I never even tried to be influential or wanted to be a leader. It's just who God made me, from as a little girl. Couldn't really understand why everyone would follow me. Everyone would listen to me. I would literally be the person telling everyone what to do, the older kids, the younger kids. And that then followed me through, of course, high school and college. And when I was in college, I started doing something. I started to put together these experiences, events. And hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of college students from all around the state would come to my events. And so at the time, I didn't know planning events was an actual career. This is in like 2003. This is 2003, 2004. I didn't know that was an actual career that people know of today. And so I was planning these large events on campus. And one day, the event planning major department chair found me. I was like, hey, you are gifted, young lady. You should think about doing events. And so I jumped into the world of event planning and I never looked back. Right after college, I started working for National PTA, Parent Teachers Association, and I was planning all of their conferences. They have about 7 million members worldwide, and I would plan all of their leadership retreats, all of their conventions that drew thousands. And it was this one day, and this is what I always talk about, God is going to align us in a position where our gifts and who we're supposed to become will be noticed by people. All we have to do is serve. I was just serving. I was just doing my job, going above and beyond. And First Lady Michelle Obama was our keynote speaker for that particular event with PTA. Her chief of staff saw me and had been watching me the entire weekend. I had no idea. I was just being the OCD event planner that I am. I am going to make sure the name badges. I mean, there was one point where we were at the press conference and the table skirt, there are hundreds of press. So just envision this. Yeah. Envision a room with hundreds of cameras, hundreds of photographers. Every major news outlet was there for the First Lady to announce her Let's Move campaign. And I'm sitting in the room and all I see is on the stage, there's a table skirt that has wrinkles in it. Now, because I'm OCD, I carry a little pocket steamer. Oh my goodness. On the stage and I'm steaming the skirt like seconds before the First Lady comes. Literally, you on camera, you see Secret Service pulling me like, girl, you can't do that. But little did I know, her team had been watching me the entire weekend and they offered me a job on the spot. Oh. I never applied. I never sent my resume in. Wow. And so right after that, I started traveling the world with First Lady Michelle Obama. And as I was traveling the world doing her events, naturally, my name started to go into different circles. Did the Grammy Awards, the Oscars, a lot of major productions from the event planning standpoint. And so that was my career. So when God gave me this concept and this idea to start a business that was serving women of faith in business, I was confused because I was making good money doing what I was doing in my career. Yeah. So my influence, from what I've done and who I've worked with, it transitioned over to this new mission that God has given me.
Okay. That's awesome. I didn't even know all those things. So that was kind of like this combination of open doors in a sense that kind of allowed you to kind of go from one place to the next place in your career.
Absolutely. I say this all the time to the women that I mentor is that God is going ahead of you and put it in the hearts of the people who have your yes. Yeah. All you have to do is show up. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to convince. I ain't got to do no sales pitch. All I had to do was show up and be in position. And the people who had my yes that I didn't even know I needed, they aligned me where I needed to be.
That's awesome. So with having your reach online and then also having a reach outline and offline and having your hands in different spaces and places, how do you prepare yourself mentally and emotionally daily to be able to show up in these different capacities? Because offline world and online world are pretty different. So how do you do that personally?
So something that maybe, I don't know if trigger is the word, but it probably is the word that triggers me with a lot of leaders, especially spiritual leaders that I see, is that I see a lot of people are underdeveloped. They don't have the emotional, mental, or even sometimes spiritual maturity to be an influencer, right? Yeah. Especially if you add God or spirituality to that. And so for me, that was something that before I even became an influencer, I used to always say, I want to be ready. God, deal with my character. Give me mentors, give me coaches, give me people that will challenge me and say, no, that's that. Fix that. Yeah. Or people that will help me evolve. So for me, the way I stay prepared is, listen, I'm in therapy. I've been going to therapy for 5 years, twice a month. Okay. Twice a month. I'm laying on somebody's couch. Twice a month, every month. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes 3 times, depending on how the month look.
Listen.
So staying in therapy. I have a what I call her spiritual mentor. She is 85 years old. All she do all day is sit with Jesus and pray. Right. So she holds me accountable with my prayer life. Now, sometimes I do be cutting my phone off because that baby want to pray every day for 5 hours. And I'm not. But the core of what I'm saying is having a systems of accountability that one can keep me grounded, 2 can help me develop because I don't know what I don't know. Right. So sometimes, especially when you're a leader and you're being like, last year I did an event with Kris Jenner and Pastor Sarah Jakes, and the amount of attacks that I received for that, the amount of people creating blogs, people acting a fool and saying things. I mean, it was a whole thing.
Wow.
I really felt so prepared for that because though I wanted to respond, I've been groomed for this. Yeah. Right? I've been groomed to allow the fruit of my life to do the speaking for me. I don't have to defend. I don't have to prove a point because you want to prove a point. You want to show that you're not this person that people are painting you out to be. So I think one thing that keeps me grounded emotionally and spiritually is the systems of accountability that I have in my life that I take serious. Having people who have the permission to come into my space and correct me. Yeah. And really anybody can correct me. I'm one of those people. I'm not like, oh, you got to be here to correct. A kid can correct me. Having a consistent, teachable spirit so that as God elevates me and as he elevates my influence, I can be mindful of how I'm influencing people.
Love that. So you mentioned something about people or women in business not always being prepared or matured enough to be able to step into some of these levels of influence. Why do you think that so many women in business, and of course, right now, this culture is really online business driven, people want to be in the forefront. Why are they stepping in too soon? And how have you seen that with other women that you've worked with? Because I know you have like online groups and different things of that nature.
Yeah, I can never really say that someone has, quote unquote, stepped into something too soon, because the truth of the matter is, are you ever ready? Right?
Yeah.
Are we ever ready? Do we ever have enough training, enough therapy? The answer is but this is what I will say. I think a lot of it is, it's anxiousness, right? We're so anxious for the next, right? Yeah. We're like, God, when is this next thing coming? Especially if you've been prophesied and you've been waiting on the fulfillment of your prophecy for years.
Yeah.
It's human nature. I'll never forget this. I was a part of a church called Progressive with Apostle Donald Alford. And this was right after college. I was so passionate about God. Yeah. I was in seminary. I just loved God. I loved his people. I mean, I was a virgin. I wasn't clubbing. I was living my life a certain way. And I remember I sat down with my pastor and I was like, the Lord told me that it's time for me to do ministry. I'm ready. I'm ready to do ministry. And he looked at me and he said, young lady, you might not have been at the church for about 2 years. And he said, you might be one of the most anointed people who've come through this ministry. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, I wasn't doing anything. I was getting frustrated because I'm like, why isn't he using me? Why is everybody else getting put up, but I'm not getting put up? Like, I was feeling away. And he said, you're one of the most anointed people to come through this ministry. And I see you, but God wants to work on your character. He's not done developing you. So you got to sit down for a little bit. And I remember, I'm not going to lie, I left there heated. Like, what do you mean? Do you know my resume? Do you know what I do for the Lord? I pray every day. I be in worship, right? But with time, what I saw was I was self-righteous. What I saw was I had no grace. I had no empathy. I had all of these different things that someone that was more seasoned than I was able to see. Now, I could have took his words and I could have went out and jumped and did my own thing. Right. I could have created my own minute or whatever. And so I think sometimes what happens is, I think it's a twofold thing. One, some people don't have leaders in their life that are sharp enough, and not envy, because it's a difference, because some leaders can give you that advice because they don't want you to leave the ministry, because they don't want you to grow to your full potential. But some people don't have leaders enough that are sharp enough to really give them the hard truth. That's the first piece. Yeah. The second piece is that no one came along my journey to tell me that I wasn't missing out. I thought because I was not, it's been prophesied since I was a teenager that I would steward billions of dollars and I would lead millions of people. It's been prophesied to my life since I was a kid. So I thought because it wasn't happening when I thought I wanted it to happen, that I was missing out. But what I didn't know is that during those seasons where I'm at now doing what God has called me to do, and even there's more to go, what I had to learn during a waiting period was very important to my process of where I am now. Having the emotional maturity and the discipline to not respond via social media, having the emotional maturity when I'm upset, somebody makes me mad, we create subliminal messages. I don't do that. Having that ability to do that happened during my developmental periods, happened during the periods of me responding. How do you respond to betrayal? How do you respond when people talk about you and it's not true? And so I think that character development, I think a lot of people unconsciously, we want to skip over the character development because we just want the fruit of what God has called us to do. One thing I tell God all the time, I'm connected to a lot of high influential people. One thing I say to God is, God, I don't want the money, the influence, and all of the stuff that comes with that, but I'm secretly depressed and I'm secretly suicidal. And I'm secretly dealing with anxiety. We're not going through that over here. I love y'all. I love the people I get to help. But I would say, peace real quick. Right. Yeah. I want to be able to have this level of influence and still be whole and still have a level of truth to myself and still feel like I'm not losing myself. And you know what? There are seasons where I don't feel whole. There are seasons where life happens. And you know what I do? I pull back. Because I have to understand, one thing I've learned is that I am my responsibility and I have to take care of myself so that I can show up and serve the world the way that I do.
I love the transparency there and just the honesty of sometimes you have to pull back, even when you are a woman who is influential and you have multiple hats that you wear and you have multiple roles. There's moments where you just have to say, I have to pull back for me. And I really love that you said that. So we talked about how you kind of prepare for influence in a sense, or being able to lead and that maturity that's necessary. But how do you personally combat things that come up mentally when you have to produce at the level of business that you produce at?
Yeah. So something cool that God has exposed me to. So in my circle, I have mentors that are billionaires. I have mentors that are multimillionaires and things like that. And some cool thing that God has shown me is that we're all the same. No matter if your name is Michelle Obama or if you are a homeless person on the street, we are all the same. And we are all the same. I give this story. I was doing an event, and I'm not going to give her name. This is probably the most popular celebrity in the world. Okay. She's an artist. So we're doing this event. We're backstage with her. We're getting ready to, she's getting ready. And she had just had a baby. And I want to say she had a baby maybe 4 or 5 months prior. And she looked good. I mean, to say she just had a baby, she was like a size 8. She looked good. But she was probably bigger than what she was used to being. So as she was walking out the room, she stopped by the mirror and she was like, oh my God, I'm so fat. Oh, and she started pinching her, fat. And I'm looking, because I'm a whole size 16. So somebody a size 8 talking about they fat, I'm looking.
Yeah.
Everybody comes around and like, no, you're beautiful. You're this, you're that, you're this. And I saw how she transitioned from having a moment of doubt. And she went on that stage and she performed in front of 20,000 people.
Oh, wow.
And what that did for me is it showed me is that we all feel the same things. We all sometimes feel like we're not good enough. We all sometimes feel like, oh, can I really do this? But the difference between her and me at that season in my life is my fear crippled me. She felt the fear and did it anyway. I feel the fear and I back out of it. I talk myself out of it. I self-sabotage myself out of it. So the thing that has been helping me is when you are in the type of world that I'm in and you're with all type of people and all type of high influential people and you see like, yo, I'm not crazy. Normal. It's normal to feel like, oh my God, I got it. And then something you're like, wait, do I have it? Right? It's a normal feeling. And so the thing that I commit myself to doing is it's okay to feel that fear. It's okay to feel that hesitation. There's sometimes like right now, last year, I launched a pretty high level premium program. Now, when it comes to charging corporations, I have no issue. Okay. If you want me to plan your event today, you're paying me $250,000 or more. Just know what it is. I don't feel anything about it, sending you that invoice. But it was something about charging the people of God. And when I launched this high premium mentorship program, it wasn't that I was nervous that I could not deliver. I knew I could deliver, but I'm like, wait, why would people listen to me? Why would somebody pay for me to da da da? Now keep in mind, my resume. I done been everywhere, done everything. It's probably clear, but I remember feeling that feeling of why would people do X, Y, and Z with me? And furthermore, why would someone pay me 5 figures to do da 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 da? My first year of my program, we had over 56 women applied for the program. Now, this is a high 5-figure program they applied for. This year, my second year, we had 98 women apply for this program. And I say that to say that I thought I wasn't good enough. But I realized feelings are not facts. And so one thing I'm committed to do in my business, and I encourage the women that I lead, is that you feel all of that. But you got to remind yourself, one, what the word of God says about you, what God has declared over you, and you do it anyway.
I love that. So you kind of went into my next question, because you basically said that there's this fear sometimes of being good enough, but is there also this fear of producing good results and really getting the people that you work with, clientele, getting a return on their investment with you? Is there a fear there as well?
Of course. And that's something that I'm actually working with, because I think as a leader, this is what I am committed to for everyone that comes through my program, for everyone that I'm called to serve. I'm committed to serving with dignity and integrity. Yeah. This is not a trick. I'm not going to take your money and I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to underpromise and I'm going to overdeliver. Outside of that, I can't give these babies nothing. What they want, my blood? They want a love. They want a heart. I can't give them anything else. Because what you have to learn very quickly with people is that people are sometimes fickle. Not only are sometimes people fickle, when you're working in a program that requires them to show up.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up, but I can't make you show up. I can't make you do the assignment. I can't make you launch whatever you said you wanted to launch. So one thing I had to learn very quickly, and I'm still learning, is that I cannot be attached to people's results. All I can be attached to is how I'm showing up, how I'm delivering. If I'm delivering with honor and integrity and all of that good stuff, the results are not my responsibility. And I had to learn this. And even me this year, I invested in a 6-figure program for myself. So I joined this 6-figure mentorship program with with my mentor. His name is actually Myron Golden. Okay. I joined Myron's program, which, when he told me the price, I was like, how much? This better come with a ticket into heaven. I better be guaranteed to get into heaven.
Oh my gosh.
But before I joined his program, I literally sat on it for about 2 to 3 months because I wanted to pray. I wanted to make sure this is the right thing. And before I joined his program, this is what I heard. Lola, your success in this program is not his responsibility. Right? Most people be like, you paying that much, you better, no. It's my responsibility to be clear on what my expectations are, to be clear on what my needs are. And I put myself in this environment and I'm extracting. I can't put that's too much power for me to give him. He's great, but that's too much power for me to give him.
Right.
So as I am investing at the next level in programs and coaching and things like that, and God is transitioning my mind, I am learning for the women that I'm called to serve, I'm going to serve them well. I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to listen to feedback if they have that feedback. I'm going to honor their thoughts. I'm going to if they're within reason, if there are things that I can do to fix it, I'll do it. But I'm not taking on the ownership to be responsible for all of these women to have results. That's their responsibility. My responsibility to deliver what I said I would deliver and to be present to help them navigate through that. And that's all I can do.
Yeah. So do you feel like, women that have like programs and different things of that nature where they work with clients, do you feel like it plays on a person's identity to kind of take on that responsibility?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it is, especially when you are, and I don't know, maybe it's not just for people that have like a heart of ministry and a heart of God. Maybe it's for everyone. We love people. We're not doing this stuff for money. We're it's not for the money. The money is not our why. Money is the byproduct of us obeying God. When a woman of faith actually gets that, the women that come, I talk about this with my therapist, because I like get attached. I'm like, oh my God, I love you. We're going to be together forever. Like, wait, no, y'all not. Y'all going to be together for 90 days and then they going to go. And I'm like, no, forever. And so when you have that heart to serve people and you have the heart to I'm talking about the people when they put their head on their pillow at night, they actually care what God thinks. They actually care about how they move. Those type of people are going to naturally want to deliver well. We're going to naturally want people to come into our program and to get results. That is the core of our hearts. As God is positioning, and this is for anyone that is listening to this that feels like they have a global mandate on their life. And when I say global mandate, that means that you're called to serve people outside of just your city, outside of just your state, outside of just your country. And so for people who have a global mandate, I believe what God wants to do and what God is doing is he's grooming us. Like what's happening for me right now is him grooming me. Because I'm telling you, I would be an emotional wreck if I was connected to making sure I delivered for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you'll be up and down because some people are going to be like, oh my God, I love you. The other people.
Right.
And so what I believe he's doing is he's grooming me to serve people on a global level. And the way you do that is that only person you can be responsible for is you. Responsible for you, your systems, how you run your business. In my company, there are times I see holes in my systems. There are sometimes I see, you know what, we can do that better. You know what, this experience needs to be elevated. I see it. And as I see it, I'm acknowledging it and I'm fixing it and I'm patching it up as we go. But I ultimately believe that God wants us to have a position in our hearts. At the end of the day, we want to honor God. And wanting to honor God, of course, you want to honor people and their investment and their time and all of that good stuff. But I believe God is shifting us because what I'm also realizing, and this is just my reality, there are some people that might think they need coaching or mentorship but they actually need therapy.
Yep.
They actually need inner healing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people think they're not getting the results in their business because of marketing, because of, I'm just telling you, whoever's listening, I haven't seen it yet. And I work with thousands of women. I have not seen yet a woman come in, and the reason why she's not producing the next level in her business is just because of marketing. It's usually a soul issue. It's usually something that's there. So what happens is when you have a mentor that then takes, or a coach that takes on the responsibility, where it's like, yo, I didn't realize you needed this piece until we started working together, right? So now I still want to serve you well, but I can't be married to the results, right? For me, what I am doing today, I was probably supposed to be doing it 5 years ago. But I kept self-sabotaging my success. I was afraid of success. I kept, I can't do it. And I'm gonna just be honest, what my thing was. I was like, Lord, if I lose 20 pounds, then I'll do it. Okay. Within 5 years, I ain't losing 20 pounds. So I'm like, okay, one more year. Right. I kept self-sabotaging this next level that God had called me to. Imagine during that season, if I was to work with a coach. I did during that season, but imagine if I did invest to work with a coach. They could not be responsible for those results, because it was a soul issue. It was a not good enough. I was going to figure out a way to tear everything apart. And so as a mentor, working in this service space where you work so closely with people, I'm just very aware of that. And as I'm being aware of it, I don't make their results my responsibility. I just make what I can do and how I can serve and how I can show up be my responsibility. And I make them show up so that they can get what they need.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice. So you also, you talked about working with a vast variety of clientele and just, celebrities and different things of that nature, and having influence again, online and offline. Has there ever been a time for you that your influence worked against you, or have you ever seen that happen for someone else?
My influence worked against me. That's a great question. Or if I've ever seen it work against someone else. I mean, the only way I can say is sometimes working with celebrities and high influential people, they don't have privacy. They don't really have, depending on how the level that they're at, but they don't have a normal life. And I personally, that's why, a lot of times, even though I post a lot and I talk a lot, most people don't understand I am extremely private by nature.
Yeah.
Like I could literally be married. I'm not married, but I could literally be married and have a whole baby. People will never know because I wouldn't do it. But I do that because I've seen so many people on a large celebrity level that felt obligated to share every piece of their life. That felt like they didn't have anything that was just to themselves. And that's not the life that I want to create for myself and my future family. That's just my thoughts. But outside of, maybe the piece of not having life or not being able to move like a normal person, I don't know if I have personally seen, I'm sure there are plenty of examples, but I don't know if I've personally seen someone's influence work against them.
Okay. So you talk a little bit about privacy, and that kind of brings me to my last question that I ask all the guests on this podcast. And so from your perspective, what is the cost of relevancy and influence?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Well, first of all, the first layer to that, in my opinion, is the moment you say yes to this.
Yeah.
If you are a spirit-led person, I feel like you deny your own way, because there are some things that I want to do, but I can't do because I'm Lola Tomorrow.
Yeah.
There are sometimes people act the fool, and I'm just like, God, can I please go talk about her mama? Please, God, I want to just talk about her mama. Please, I'll post it and I'll delete it. But I really feel like I want to talk about that person's mama. Like, this really comes up for me. This is not a joke. It's true. I mean, negotiating with God, like, please let me go talk about her mama.
That is hilarious.
But there are times where, I might want to respond, but I can't. I have to be a good steward over my words, a good steward over what I do and what I type. And you gotta, that's just the reality. Even like, as a single woman who's unmarried, who's like the way I date, I have to date a certain way, And so I do think that there's a cost that I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize. And I think with that cost, that means like, when you understand the mantle that's on your life, that means sometimes I can't go into partnership with people. I can't collaborate with some. It's not that they're not great people, but if God say, if I have an uneasiness about it, it's just, and I feel like that's sometimes where when you feel for people who feel free and liberated to do whatever they want to do, for the adults that feel like they love saying, I'm grown, in my opinion, that doesn't work on this side of the ball. Mm-hmm. For those who care about honoring God. On this side of the ball, there are things sometimes that you want to do. There might be things that you want to say. There might be things that you want to experience. Something that's really big for me is like when trending topics are happening, I go and type up long posts. I'm like, ooh, and Holy Spirit be like, yep, no, delete it, right?
Yeah.
So there's sometimes where, because of what comes with my voice cannot be attached to everything. And so I think that that is potentially the cost. I also think that the higher you go and the more you move. So like I am now moving in a different realm spiritually, even though my business is natural. Mm-hmm. The more I move, the more I see more people connected to me, exposed to the warfare that I was groomed for. Mm-hmm. Right. So the higher you go, it's not just you. Like the reason why I always tell the women that I lead, prayer and having a lifestyle of prayer is not an option for us.
Yeah.
Because the enemy wants our families. The enemy wants your marriage.
Yeah.
Your kid. Want every little relationship that you got, because we are literally called to shift economies. Like when you understand that sounds real deep, but it's like when you understand God has put in my hand and in my power the ability to shift economies and to do it for his glory.
Yeah.
The enemy after. So it's kind of one of those things where there's a cost of knowing that, you know, if you had a marriage ministry, you already know your marriage is going to be attacked at another level. So y'all got to do the work. And so I do feel like there is a cost to kind of have this level of influence when you want to do it a certain way.
Yeah. That's lovely. Thank you so much, Lola, for your time.
Of course.
This has been the Raven Knoll Show. Thanks for listening. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to this podcast so you're the first to know when new episodes are released. And don't forget to leave a review. If you can't wait until the next show, follow along on Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter at Raven C. Knoll for more tips and to keep the conversation going. Go ahead and DM me on Instagram or take a screenshot of this podcast and share it to your IG stories. I want to know about your takeaways from the show. Don't forget to tag me and use the hashtag RCNPodSquad. Lastly, visit my website at ravencnoll.com and join my email list to get exclusive bonuses only for my email subscribers. Thanks again for rocking and rolling with me. I'll talk to you soon.